My sister was 30 seconds away from saying I do when the groom's mother finally saw me. Her champagne glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the floor. Then she pointed directly at my face and screamed, "You?" The entire church went silent. My sister slowly turned toward me. My sister, Lily, stared at me like I had just risen from the dead wearing a name tag. She whispered, "Emma, why does my future mother-in-law know you?" I looked at the woman in the front row. She looked older than I remembered, but I would have recognized that face anywhere. Her name was Margaret. 7 years earlier, she had called herself Mara and convinced my widowed uncle to invest nearly $40,000 in a fake wellness business. When the company disappeared, so did Mara. Until today. Apparently fraud came with excellent skin care and a very expensive wedding outfit. Back then, I had helped my uncle collect documents, bank transfers, and emails. We never recovered all his money, but we discovered enough to know Mara had used a fake company name and vanished before anyone could confront her. I had not seen her since. Until she became my sister's future mother-in-law. I had tried to tell Lily something felt strange about the Groom's family, but she had been floating on wedding clouds for months. Her fiancé, Ryan, was charming, polite, and suspiciously good at saying exactly what everyone wanted to hear. At the time, I blamed his sales job. That turned out to be generous. Now Margaret was standing in front of 70 guests, looking like her past had just walked into the room wearing heels. She snapped that I could not be there. Lily blinked and said I was her sister. Ryan immediately stepped forward and told his mother to calm down. That was when I knew he already knew something. Ryan did not ask why his mother knew me. He did not look confused. He looked annoyed. Not shocked. Annoyed. That expression told me more than any confession could have. Lily noticed it too. She turned toward him and asked why he was not surprised. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. For 3 whole seconds, nobody said anything. Even the violinist stopped moving. Then Ryan muttered that this was not the time. I almost laughed. Of course it was not. Liars are extremely picky about timing. Apparently the perfect time for truth is always tomorrow, next week, or after the non-refundable catering has been served. Lily looked from Ryan to Margaret, then to me. She demanded an explanation immediately. Margaret spoke first and said I had confused her with someone else. I calmly told Lily that 7 years ago, Margaret had used the name Mara Reynolds. Margaret's face changed instantly. Ryan looked at the floor. I explained the fake wellness company, my uncle's investment, and the missing money. Margaret interrupted me 3 times, calling it a misunderstanding. The 4th time, Lily raised one hand and told her to stop helping herself. My sister had entered her calm voice. In our family, that voice usually came right before emotional property damage. Then Lily asked Ryan the question everyone was waiting for. Did you know? Ryan stared at her for several seconds. Finally, he said he knew there had been some issue years ago. Some issue. That was a beautiful phrase. Like calling a house fire a slightly aggressive candle. Lily's expression changed. She asked how long he had known. Ryan hesitated. Margaret jumped in and said he had only learned recently. I looked at Ryan. He looked at Margaret. Lily looked at both of them. Somewhere in the back row, our cousin whispered that the drama had officially become premium. I asked Ryan whether he knew Margaret had used a fake name. He admitted he did. Lily inhaled slowly. I knew that inhale. It was the same one she used before firing a contractor who installed her kitchen cabinets upside down. Ryan continued talking, apparently unaware he was emotionally standing on a trapdoor. Ryan insisted his mother had made mistakes but had changed. That might have mattered if he had told Lily before the wedding day. Instead, he had hidden it for nearly a year. Then came the sentence that made everything worse. He said he did not want Lily's family judging Margaret before they got to know her. Lily stared at him and asked if he meant before they knew Margaret had taken money from our uncle. Ryan said it was not exactly like that. Margaret immediately thanked him. Ryan then realized he had accidentally joined the wrong team in his own wedding argument. His face looked like a man who had clicked reply all by mistake. I thought the worst secret was already out. I was wrong. Lily asked where the money for the wedding had come from. Ryan had told her his mother contributed a large amount as a gift. Margaret immediately looked at him. Ryan immediately looked at the floor. My stomach dropped before anyone said another word. Lily repeated the question. Ryan finally said his mother had given them $25,000. Margaret corrected him and said $30,000. The room went quiet again. I asked where that money came from. Margaret called the question insulting. That answer had all the comforting energy of someone hiding a shovel behind their back. I told Lily that years ago, my uncle never recovered roughly $30,000 from the original investment. Margaret snapped that there was no connection. Ryan suddenly told his mother to stop. That was new. Margaret turned toward him so sharply that even the flowers seemed nervous. Ryan admitted he had seen old bank records while helping his mother organize paperwork. He noticed deposits from businesses connected to the fake wellness company. Lily's face went completely still. She asked if he knew the wedding money might have come from that scam. Ryan said the word might was doing a lot of work. That answer was so terrible I almost respected it. Almost. Lily did not. She asked Ryan whether he had accepted the money anyway. He said the wedding was expensive and that Margaret had insisted. My sister slowly looked around at the flowers, the chandeliers, and the giant cake like they had all personally betrayed her. Margaret suddenly accused me of destroying Lily's happiness over an old family grudge. I told her that if her past could destroy a wedding merely by entering the room, maybe the problem was not the person entering the room. One of the groomsmen made a noise that sounded suspiciously like a laugh. Lily raised her hand again and said enough. The word landed harder than a microphone drop. Then she asked Ryan one final question. If Emma had not shown up today, were you ever planning to tell me any of this? Ryan stared at her. The silence lasted so long that everyone received the answer. Ryan finally said he had been trying to protect Lily. She laughed once. Not a happy laugh. The kind of laugh that tells a man his emotional warranty has expired. She asked what he was protecting her from. Information? Reality? Her own ability to make decisions? Even Margaret stopped interrupting. Then Ryan made the mistake that officially buried him. He said Lily was overreacting. 70 people inhaled at once. Even I felt bad for him, and I was actively watching his credibility die. Lily slowly removed her engagement ring and looked at him with the calm focus of a surgeon. Lily placed the ring in Ryan's hand and announced that there would be no wedding. Margaret gasped louder than anyone. Ryan looked genuinely shocked, which was impressive considering the previous 20 minutes. He said she could not cancel everything because of one mistake. Lily replied that the good news was there had been several. Margaret stepped forward and demanded that Lily reconsider. She said guests had traveled, money had been spent, and the venue was non-refundable. Lily looked around and said Margaret was right about one thing. It would be terrible to waste all the food. For one terrifying second, Ryan thought she had changed her mind. Then Lily turned to the guests and announced that the wedding was cancelled, but dinner was not. Half the room looked confused. The other half looked relieved. Our cousin immediately asked whether the open bar was still available. My aunt slapped his arm, but honestly, it was a reasonable logistical question. Ryan begged Lily to talk privately. She agreed, but only if I came too. Margaret objected. Lily said that was exactly why I was coming. We moved into a small room beside the ceremony hall. Ryan closed the door and immediately began explaining himself with the confidence of a man holding no useful cards. Ryan said he had hoped to repay the questionable money after the wedding. Lily asked if he planned to use wedding gifts. Ryan paused. That pause was so loud it deserved its own microphone. He admitted he had expected cash gifts from relatives to cover part of the amount. I stared at him in disbelief. Lily looked like someone had unplugged her emotions. She summarized his plan. Use suspicious money to pay for the wedding, then use wedding gifts to clean up the suspicious money. Ryan said it sounded worse when she said it like that. I almost congratulated him for finally understanding how language worked. Ryan insisted he loved Lily. I believed he probably did. But love does not magically turn secrecy into protection or bad decisions into clever plans. Lily told him exactly that. Then she said she could survive embarrassing wedding photos, but she could not build a marriage with someone who edited reality for her. Ryan finally stopped arguing. He sat down and covered his face with both hands. For the first time all day, he looked less like a salesman and more like someone who understood the consequences of his choices. Lily did not comfort him. She simply said she hoped he actually learned something from this. When we returned to the reception hall, Margaret was telling guests that Lily had suffered a temporary emotional breakdown. My sister heard her. She walked straight to the microphone, tapped it once, and announced that she was not having a breakdown. She was having standards. The room erupted in applause. Margaret turned bright red. She demanded that Ryan leave with her. Ryan refused. That created an entirely new argument between mother and son. I had never seen a wedding generate so many separate storylines. At that point, we were no longer attending a ceremony. We were inside a family television season finale. The caterer approached Lily and quietly asked what to do with dinner. Lily told them to serve everything. Then she looked at me and said she was not letting betrayal ruin perfectly good salmon. That may have been the most emotionally healthy sentence anyone in our family had ever spoken. So dinner happened. The groom disappeared. The bride stayed. Half the guests ate cautiously like they were unsure whether the cake might testify next. Then the DJ asked what kind of music Lily wanted. She said anything that did not contain the words forever, destiny, or trust. The DJ nodded respectfully. 20 minutes later, people were dancing. Apparently humans can emotionally recover from a cancelled wedding at impressive speed if carbs and music are available. My uncle, the one Margaret had scammed, arrived late because of traffic. When I told him who the groom's mother was, he stared at me for 10 seconds. Then my uncle asked the most important question of the evening. Was the bar still open? I told him yes. He nodded and said he would process the information responsibly. That became our family's new definition of responsible emotional processing for approximately 3 hours. My uncle did not confront Margaret that night. He said anything financial should be handled properly, not during a party. I was proud of him. Also slightly disappointed because part of me had already mentally ordered popcorn. Instead, he took photos of the seating chart and quietly wrote down Margaret's current full name. By the end of the night, Lily had changed out of her wedding dress and into sweatpants from her emergency bag. She cut the cake herself. Someone asked whether she wanted to save the top tier for her first anniversary. Lily said it could celebrate the anniversary of her reunion with common sense. The next morning, Ryan sent Lily 18 messages. She read 2 and then muted him. Margaret sent 1 message accusing our family of humiliating hers. Lily replied with a screenshot of Margaret's old fake business website that my uncle still had saved. Margaret did not respond after that. Over the next few weeks, Lily returned wedding gifts, canceled the honeymoon, and moved Ryan's remaining things out of her apartment. She cried sometimes. She also laughed sometimes. Healing was messy, but at least it was honest. She said she preferred heartbreak with facts over happiness built on edited information. My uncle later spoke with a lawyer about the old financial records. Some of the claims were too old to pursue easily, but the new information helped him understand where part of the money had gone. He said closure was not the same as getting everything back, but knowing the truth mattered. Ryan eventually mailed Lily a handwritten apology. To his credit, it did not blame anyone else. He admitted that hiding the truth had been selfish, not protective. Lily read it, cried for 5 minutes, then put it away. She did not take him back. An apology can be real without becoming a return ticket. Margaret never apologized to my uncle. She did, however, stop attending several social events where she might run into our family. My cousin called that geographically assisted personal growth. We all agreed it was probably the closest thing to accountability we were going to get from her. 6 months later, Lily took the money she had saved for the honeymoon and traveled to Italy with me instead. On our first night, she raised a glass to the wedding that never happened. I clinked mine against hers and toasted the invitations that accidentally saved people from terrible decisions. Lily later admitted she had been angry with me for exactly 12 seconds at the wedding. She thought I had some secret romantic history with Ryan. I laughed so hard I nearly fell off my chair. I told her I had made mistakes in life, but I still had standards. She threw a breadstick at me. That wedding taught me something strange. Sometimes the person who ruins the ceremony is not the person who ruins the relationship. Sometimes the disaster happens long before anyone walks down the aisle. The wedding day just turns on the lights. And in Lily's case, those lights were extremely bright. A year later, Lily framed one photo from that day. Not the dress. Not the flowers. It was a picture of her at the microphone announcing the canceled wedding while half the guests looked shocked behind her. Under the frame, she placed a tiny label saying it was the best decision she ever made in formal wear. Whenever someone asks why my sister's wedding never happened, Lily gives the short version. The groom's mother recognized my sister. Then she smiles and says that was the best thing that could have happened. Every time, I remember the broken champagne glass, the silence, and the screen that accidentally saved Lily from the wrong marriage.